Welcome back, everyone, to the Cyber Resilience Brief, a Safe Breach podcast. I am Tova Dvorin, your host, and today we are tackling a topic that has moved from the theoretical risk column straight into the active crisis center for CISOs globally. We are talking about the massive escalation in Iranian offensive cyber attacks, driven at least in part by the ongoing offensive by US and Israel against Iranian nuclear and military interests. To help us navigate this, I'm joined as always by my co-host and all-around favorite resident offensive engineer, Adrian Culley. Adrian, it's been a heavy few weeks.
That's an understatement, Tova. Since the military exchanges in late February, we've seen the gloves come off in the digital domain. What used to be a very quiet game of espionage has turned into a high-velocity, destructive, and frankly very loud cyber warfare.
Exactly. We're seeing names like Handala and MuddyWater appearing in the news daily. But there's a lot of confusion about who they are and, more importantly, how they're actually getting in. We have observed some startling shifts in their TTPs. Let's talk about that.
We're moving away from the old image of a lone hacker in a basement. We're now dealing with what I call aggressive decentralization. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, the IRGC and the MOIS, are using these hacktivist personas as a shield. And they are personas. Be crystal clear. This is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Ministry of Intelligence and Security cyber units, and their hacktivist personas are exactly that. But the tradecraft behind them is highly professionalized.
So let's start with the name everyone is talking about, and that's, of course, Handala. They've claimed some massive scalps recently, Sorek Nuclear, Verifone, and I think most recently the Stryker breach. Adrian, what makes Handala different from the traditional Iranian APTs that we've tracked for years?
So Handala is the persona of choice for a group that we also track as Void Manticore, which is heavily linked to the MOIS. Interestingly, the name actually comes from the Arabic word handal, which is a poisonous desert plant known as Citrullus solosynthis. Its main use is a laxative, but the term has also become synonymous with resistance groups, an unwanted weed. And what makes Handala terrifying in 2026 isn't just their ability to steal data, it's their focus on psychological impact through destruction.
The weed of nightmares. Of course, we're referencing the Stryker attack here.
Exactly. For our listeners who may not be as up to date, in the Stryker breach earlier this month, just a couple of weeks ago, Handala didn't just deploy a standard piece of malware, they used a malware-less approach by hijacking Microsoft Intune. For anyone unfamiliar, Intune is what IT teams use to manage all company devices. Handala compromised the administrative tokens and essentially sent a factory reset command to 200,000, nearly 250,000 devices simultaneously.
Talk about a nightmare scenario. There's no malware to detect, just a legitimate administrative tool being used for mass destruction.
Precisely. And Handala are doing this whilst hiding behind Starlink IP ranges to bypass geofencing. They are incredibly adaptive. They know that if they use traditional Iranian IP space, they get blocked instantly. So they've moved their infrastructure into the cloud and onto satellite networks.
And of course, right onto the internet connections that they've banned from the people. So that's a double-edged sword there as well.
Everything's dual use.
And we'll be right back.
While Handala is the loud side of the house, we still have the MOIS workhorse, which is MuddyWater. Now, we've seen them pivoting heavily towards US and Canadian financial institutions this year.
Yep, MuddyWater, also known as Mango Sandstorm.
Mango Sandstorm. It's the fourth cocktail on our list, Adrian. Listeners, at some point we're going to go through these, but this is great. Mango Sandstorm, tell me about them.
So they're the master of the long game. Even they are evolving. In late 2025 and into this year, 2026, we've seen them shift from Rust-based backdoors like Char malware.
But why specifically Rust?
Well, it's harder to reverse engineer and often bypasses older EDR solutions that are tuned to C++ or .NET-based commands. But the real kicker is how they handle command and control. Our research has identified them using Telegram bots and even Ethereum smart contracts to hide their C2 addresses.
Hold on, they're using blockchain for C2? How does that work in a practical sense?
It's very clever. They post an obfuscated string into a transaction on the Ethereum blockchain. The malware on the victim's machine simply reads the latest transaction from a specific wallet address, decodes it, and gets the new IP address for the command server. You can't take down a blockchain transaction. It makes their infrastructure almost impossible to kill. It's often referred to in intelligence circles as a digital Dropbox or a digital dead drop, and it's very clever and very difficult to eradicate.
Interesting. Right. I mean, that touches upon an aspect of blockchain that we've never spoken about on this podcast, and that's the permanence principle. That once something is recorded in the ledger, it cannot be taken back. I've never thought about it from an offensive cybersecurity perspective. It's interesting.
It is. Anything that can be misused will be misused.
And we'll be right back.
That's right. Well, we can't talk about Iran without the IRGC. We've seen their units like Cyber Avengers going after critical infrastructure. That's water, power, logistics, etc.
So this is where the risk becomes physical. In late 2025, they targeted water treatment plants by exploiting Israeli-made programmable logical controllers, PLCs. The terrifying part is that they didn't even need a 0 day. They just used default passwords.
Yeah, that feels like a massive wake-up call for the security through obscurity crowd.
It really is. The IRGC's goal isn't necessarily to cause a massive disaster yet. It's about adversarial exposure validation on their end. They're probing for weaknesses. They want to show that they can reach out and touch Western critical infrastructure at will.
Yikes. And Adrian, as a leading engineer in CTEM and BAS, how do you propose we defend against this? We have these rival groups, that's MOIS using wipers and the IRGC using OT attacks. How does a security team prioritize between them, especially with everything going on?
So this is where continuous threat exposure management, CTEM, becomes a survival requirement. It should now be default behavior for the good guys. You cannot wait for a quarterly penetration test. You need to be running continuous automated red teaming. You should be asking, if MuddyWater uses a Telegram C2 today, would my SOC see it? If you aren't simulating these specific Iranian tactics, techniques and procedures, the Rust-based loaders, the Intune hijacking, the blockchain C, you're effectively flying blind.
And it sounds like the electric operations room formed in Tehran earlier this year has unified these efforts. The threat is more coordinated than ever.
Absolutely. Despite the fact that we strongly believe the physical building that the main IRGC cyber units and MOIS cyber units work from has been destroyed, we're still seeing a surge strategy, a cyber fifth column. They're flooding the zone with both disinformation and actual destructive attacks. Our mission at SafeBreach is to take our research from the field and turn it into simulations that our customers can run now to see if their current controls actually work.
Adrian, thank you for this deep dive. This has been a sobering but necessary look at the 2026 threat landscape, especially in light of all the recent developments in the war.
Keep carting, keep validating.
But in the meantime, stay safe with SafeBreach.
The Cyber Resilience Brief is a SafeBreach podcast. Executive produced by Adrian Culley and Tova Dvorin. Music produced by Sar Dresner. Hosted, edited, and compiled on Riverside. For more about SafeBreach and how you can validate your security controls across your entire IT infrastructure, visit us at www.safebreach.com. That's www.safebeach.com.